Back to the your stream brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. I'm here in studio with nutrition and wellness educator with the University of Illinois Extension, Lisa Peterson. Great to have you back here, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. Yeah. So tell me what you're paying attention to right now. I know every month you come in with a kind of a theme of the month. Yep. So what is this month's theme?
So September is Food Safety Education Month. And for those who know me, that is one of my biggest areas of expertise. That's where I spend a lot of my time with research. So I'm super excited. We're really promoting some of those, kind of debunking some of those myths that we often hear in regards to food safety, because 1 in 6 Americans every year get sick from food, and they don't realize it. They don't report it because they think it's just a stomach bug. It's potentially something related to the pandemic. It's things like that, where it's something you ate 2 days ago that's now making you sick. That could have been prevented. So that's really where we fall in. We want to prevent this from happening and from you feeling bad.
Right. Did you say 1 in 6?
Yeah, 1 in 6.
That's a lot more than I expected.
Yep. And again, that's the ones that are reported. So it's probably much more. We just don't have the data because people don't report it. They think it's a stomach bug.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I know a lot of what you deal with is in terms of preparation. So when it comes to preparing meat, what are some of the things that a lot of people think, but aren't really actually true?
Yep. And
tell me one of them.
Yep. And one of the big ones there has to do with chicken. I feel like chicken's one we always come back to when we talk about trends, things going on with it, but rinsing chicken. And it's something that a lot of people do. And we've tried to debunk it over and over again. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse.
Wait. So you can't, or you shouldn't rinse your chicken?
Yes, you shouldn't rinse your chicken. Okay. So they think by rinsing the chicken, you're removing the harmful bacteria. And really what you're doing is you're spreading that bacteria throughout your kitchen. So bacteria travels very easy that way. So the only way to kill that salmonella that's potentially on your chicken is by cooking it. So it's not on the outside, it's on the inside. And washing it in your sink, all you're doing is contaminating your sink. So if you want to remove it, we're going to tell you simply throw it in the oven, put it on the stove, find a different way to cook it and make sure it gets to 165 degrees rather than rinsing it. And if you don't like, a lot of times there's that slimy goo that people are like, that's why I got to rinse it. There's stuff on it. That goo is a mix of water and protein. So it's not harmful to you. If you don't like it, what I do suggest and what we've suggested, USDA suggests, is take a paper towel, dab it, get off that goo if you don't like it, throw it away, wash your hands, and then handle the chicken. But do not put it under water and rinse it. Because again, you're going to spread that bacteria. So,
right, which will then heighten the risk for foodborne illness as maybe something else you're preparing touches that surface and then that illness onto you.
And that's what we're trying to prevent. So that's where we tell you, if you want to get rid of that bacteria, cook it. That's the easiest way. If you don't like the goo, dab it off with a paper towel, throw it away, wash your hands, and go ahead and handle it. So that's one way to get rid of that goo if you don't like it. But it is just water and protein. Right. So
something I've been told from my culinary uncle is that you should leave steak, and maybe this can apply to chicken too, out room temperature so that you can get it to the proper temperature easier without overcooking it. Is that a myth?
If you're leaving it out,
so basically you thaw it out in the fridge, right? Right, and then you let it maybe like a half hour come to room temperature, and then you cook it.
That makes me a little nervous because again, you're putting it at room temperature. So, and anything that's just in that temperature danger zone, 40 to 140, is putting you at an increased risk because bacteria multiply so quickly that usually we tell you 2 hours. If it sits out at 2 hours, you throw it away. Anything that's perishable. So I'm like, technically you're still in that zone, but if you're in a 90-degree room and you're leaving it out for a half hour, that's going to absolutely increase the risk of that bacteria multiplying. And once those toxins are there, because that bacteria gets so bad, it produces toxins, then you can't destroy them. So that could be harmful. I mean, you just got to know you're taking a risk if you're going to leave it out.
Right. And the idea behind that is so that you can get the proper cook, especially for steak. I think he likes to use it.
Yeah, I see where you're going with it.
Because he doesn't want it to cook too long and have to bring that internal temperature too much.
And we kind of say the same with eggs because there's a lot of recipes that call for room temperature eggs. And we'll tell you that if you do it, don't leave it out for more than a half hour because again, that risk of making somebody sick, but you need to get it to a warmer temperature in order for it to help the cake rise properly or something like that, but never leaving it at room temperature for a long period of time.
Right. And in that same realm too, what are some of the things that you often hear about thawing out that meat?
So with thawing meat, one of the big ones going back to chicken is we do need to properly thaw it before putting it into a slow cooker. I know I've talked about it before, but we never want to put frozen chicken into a slow cooker because, again, it is a slow cooker. So it's not getting to temperature fast enough within that 2-hour time frame that we need it to that temperature. So making sure we're thawing it either in the refrigerator, we thaw it in the microwave before we're cooking it or preparing it. So we do not want to thaw, if at all, at room temperature because it is not safe. Because again, bacteria multiplies really quick, and that bacteria that could hurt us, we can't see, we can't smell, and we can't taste. So we never know it was there by looking at it. Mm-hmm. So that's been another issue too, and that falls into cooking with people who cook their burgers until they're not pink inside. We still want to use a thermometer. 1 in 4 burgers don't actually get to temperature based on color. So that's where they're looking at color like, well, it's brown. It's still not at the right temperature. So you need to use a thermometer to make sure you're getting it to 160, especially with like beef burgers.
Right. So that that goes in the same thing. You should probably thaw the burgers in the fridge too, to make sure that it does get to that proper temperature.
Yep. And it'll get there quicker too. And that may affect your flavor as well. And so it doesn't dry out on you as bad as well. Yep.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
And what about, you mentioned the slow cooker. Mm-hmm. What about deep fryers?
Yep.
Same neighborhood, I'd say.
Same thing. And same with pressure cookers. I mean, you can technically cook in a deep fryer. Deep fryer may have a fire issue, but I'm thinking more with like a pressure cooker. Someone's asked me that. Can I put a piece of frozen chicken into that? Yes.
Did I say deep fryer?
Yeah.
I meant air fryer.
Air fryers, yes. So those, you're cooking it right away. So think of it, that's not one that, with slow cookers, it's very particular because it's at a low temperature and it's sitting for a long period of time. With an air fryer or with a pressure cooker, those things are getting to temperature right away. It's going to cook longer, but you can put a frozen piece of meat in that.
Okay.
And as long as you're not having it on like a delay setting where it's got to sit there. But if you're going to cook it right away, yes, you can put a frozen piece of meat in there.
Yep. Okay. I didn't realize that. Yep. I'm going to go home and use my air fryer.
It may take a while.
Right.
That's the only thing.
Good thing I get home in the early afternoon.
Yeah, you might be waiting a while for that chicken.
Well, that's good. Yeah. What else would you like to let people know about in terms of preparation of food?
Sure. So kind of talking a little bit more on that meat end. We talked a little bit about the burgers and the color of them. Another thing is always washing hands. I mean, we cannot emphasize that enough when it comes to handling raw meat. A lot of people forget about that with eggs too, is that falls in that same category. A raw egg is porous. So always washing your hands before you're handling and after you're done, mainly because if your hands are dirty and you handle an egg, all that stuff that's on your hands gets into that egg still. So that's where you still want to wash your hands before and after. They do encourage, and we've talked about this before, that if you do like your egg sunny side up, which some people do, I'm one of those people who likes the runny yolk, you are going to be taking a risk because for the food safety standpoint, you do want to make sure that that egg yolk is solid because you're getting it to the right temperature with that solidness, and that opaque outside is white so that you don't have any liquid in there. Scrambled eggs, that's pretty easy to tell. All the liquid's gone. You know it's at 165. But yeah, with the other one, that's what I tell people. And you'll notice that in menus too, they say that you're taking a risk. So just making sure people are aware of that with salmonella poisoning.
Right. It's not that it will happen.
Yes.
Kind of like cooking steak to medium rare. It's not that you're going to get sick, but there's that risk.
Yep.
And you have to be aware of it.
Yep. And most of the time with steak too, they are required to cook it to a certain surface temperature on that. So that does make a difference. That is a requirement. I teach those certified food protection manager classes, and we talk about that they are still required to have a surface temperature and a color change on both sides. So there is still some food safety guidelines with that.
All right.
Yep.
Nutrition and wellness educator Lisa Peterson is playing Mythbusters here today with all the food preparation, all the common myths you hear. Number 1 she came up with, don't wash that chicken. Don't wash the chicken. More from her after this short break. Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. Find those streams online on the TaylorvilleDailyNews.com Facebook or on YouTube at WTIM TV.
WTIM. Gatlinburg Labor Day Picnic is staying alive. Festivities kick off Friday at 5 p.m. with a fire department fish fry, pageants, Edinburgh Idol, followed with karaoke. Saturday events include bounce house and games, ribbon chili cook-off, 2K color fun run, demo derby at 6 p.m., and the Remedy starting at 8:30 p.m. Sunday, bring the kids for Kids Day and enjoy Meet the Machines, pedal tractor pulls, pony buggy rides, and live music by Cody Mooney from 2 to 5 p.m. with Bad Grandpa closing out the night. Monday, the parade will step off at 10 a.m. See you there.
This is Blaine Cornwell with Prairie State Insurance. Life packs plenty of surprises. You never know what waits around the next corner, but you can prepare for it. Beacon Insurance has a menu of life insurance products that best fit your needs. This may be the traditional term or whole life policy, or Beacon's unique transitional life product, which incorporates benefits of both. Start protecting your future today. Call me at Prairie State Insurance, 217-824-9808, or check us out at prairiestateins.com, and we'll go beyond the expected for you.
Your farmer-owned dairy, Prairie Farms Dairy, has a great thirst-quenching idea that provides lots of vitamin C this summer. Try some delicious Prairie Farms Premium Orange Juice. It gives you and your family the vitamin C they need, and great taste, too. Prairie Farms Dairy Premium 100% pure Florida orange juice. Grab it in your grocer or convenience store dairy case. From the farm families of Prairie Farms Dairy. To your family, it's quality you can taste.
Here's a great way to prevent early nursing home placement. Rent one of the catered care suites at Taylorville Estates Assisted Living, 705 South Houston. Stay independent longer by living in one of these short-term apartments that include meals, laundry, a therapy gym, and much more. And if you like it, Taylorville Estates Assisted Living has 1- and 2-bedroom apartments available for longer-term stays. Find out more. Stop by and ask for Administrator Tony Clark or call her at 824-2222. That's 824-2222. Encouraging independence, enriching lives.
Labor Day hits the calendar to give all of you hard workers a day off. Labor Day is celebrated for you every day this month at Just Beds. Celebrate with a Sealy Queen Crown Jewel Eurotop mattress for just $4.99. Plus, check out the Labor Day savings prices on Sealy hybrid mattresses and save up to $350 on select items. As always, free delivery, setup, and removal. Enjoy Labor Day all month long. Visit the Yawn Exterminators at Just Beds on Montvale Drive, Springfield.
Just Beds.
C&B Bank and Trust is helping to open doors for your wealth. Schedule your appointment with Victor Henson by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com. Not FDIC insured, no bank guarantee, may lose value.
Hi, I'm Bob Raddings of the Bob Raddings family of dealerships. See our huge inventory of about 2,000 vehicles by clicking on our ad at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm Avery Cooper. Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark, and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. I have nutrition and wellness educator Lisa Peterson with the University of Illinois Extension, and she's playing Mythbusters right now. Lisa, we talked a lot about some of the meat side of preparation and some of the common myths that people, talk about, and understandably so. It's a lot of them are kind of common sense.
Yep.
But also then there's the other side of it, which is the fruit and vegetable side. So what are some of the most common myths that you hear on that or on that vegetable side, and the fruit veggie?
Sure. So one of the big ones is that I don't have to rinse my produce if it has a skin or a rind on it, and I'm going to take it off.
Okay, so like a banana.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's one thing where I'm more thinking like melons. Like that's a big one too.
Okay.
But mainly because harmful bacteria could be on the outside of that produce. You think about if you're in a grocery store or if it's been sitting in a garden, there's been soil on it. There's been hands touching it. There's been a lot of things that have touched it. You're like, well, I'm just going to remove that rind. The problem is you got to cut into that somehow. So that knife or whatever you're using is going to cut right through and take that bacteria with it from the outside in. So we do still encourage you to wash your hands, wash that produce to make sure. And again, we're not talking soap and water. So just water to rinse it really well. Using a scrubbing brush also can help, and rinsing under clean running water. So never use bleach or detergent to wash fruits or vegetables because those products are not intended to eat. So we try not to use them.
The idea is the same, along the same lines of that bacteria will get into the fruit.
Yep.
That same soap, detergent,
everything will get
will
into there.
Right, once you cut.
Yep, so clean running water. Use a scrubbing brush if you can to make sure you clean it and then cut into it. Make sure your hands are clean as well when handling that produce. Because again, soil is one that can carry a lot of pathogens, which can make us sick. So if it is coming from the garden, do make sure to rinse it so you get everything off of it as well before you start using it. And even if you're peeling off that rind or that outside, make sure you do rinse it really, really well. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about with freezing or rather frozen fruit and vegetables too. I mean, is there Is there risks involved with that?
Yep.
Or,
So when we talk about freezing or using frozen fruits and vegetables, you still want to cook them to the right temperature, cooking them to piping hot. Usually we tell most people fruits and vegetables, if you're cooking it for heat, you want to get it to at least 135. If you're eating it for leftovers, you still want to get it to 165. So that's one thing. We have people who eat a lot of plant-based diets and they're like, well, I never get sick from food poisoning. And that may not be the case. We always joke that it's either yet or not that you know of that you've been sick from foodborne illness. So fruits and vegetables do carry lots of foodborne illness. Vegans that have very little preparation are still in that high risk category. Plant-based cooking should be cooked according to your packages or until, again, piping hot. That's where a thermometer can be super helpful, especially when you're reheating. Because a lot of times too, people overcook it and then it gets to 180, 200 degrees and it almost dries out. So that's another thing. If you cook it only to 165, you might be preserving some of that flavor as well.
Okay. And so in short, you can absolutely still get a foodborne illness even if you are eating a plant-based diet.
Yeah, and you think about like the romaine lettuce, you think that's probably the one that was mostly in the news with E. coli and things like that. Those bacteria that can get in there pretty easy. And why we tell you wash your fruits and vegetables, because there's still chance of Listeria, E. coli, salmonella. You can get all these different still from this plant-based diet. Yeah.
Okay. What about any myths involving delivered food?
Delivered, yeah. So when we talk about delivered food, one of the big things is people think, okay, well, it's delivered. I don't have to worry about washing my hands or cleaning my counters before I eat it. So going back and again, talking about washing hands, that is very, very, very important. So wash your hands again with that soap and water for 20 seconds. If soap and water aren't available, you can always use sanitizer, making sure it's about 60% or so alcohol. It is important to clean surfaces because, again, even though it's been delivered, now it could be contaminated by your own kitchen and make you sick. So you still want to make sure you're washing it. If your food is delivered at work, find a time to put it away, ideally right away into 140 degree fridge. So not having it sit out. I'm somebody who uses those meal services that get delivered in a box. And that's something I always try to double check most time. And I've never really had an issue, but they put them in ice packs. But they may sit at my door for 4 or 5 hours by the time I get home. But it is important to check the temperature when they come in. Because again, if it comes in at 80 degrees and I have meat in there, that would not be something I would eat. I would call the company and tell them what happened because that could potentially make you sick. So again, you cannot see if it has bacteria in there. That's going to make you sick. Yeah.
Do you have a thermometer that you recommend to people for
not really. I usually tell them to look for a lot of these thermometers you can find in stores, and most have a little thing on it that says NSF. And NSF is the National Sanitation Foundation, and that means it's food grade. So that means it's following food safety standards that we recommend a lot of times to restaurants. But if you're in like Walmart or some of our local chains here, they will have thermometers and it'll have an NSF symbol on it. So that's really what I aim for. Making sure it can be calibrated. That's a big part too. So every thermometer you have should be able to be calibrated. So if you drop it, it could easily be off. So knowing how to calibrate. And if you have questions, call our office. I will hands-on show you how to calibrate a thermometer if you're using a gauge one. Rather than a digital. Digital has a different way to calibrate, and some of them need to be sent in as well. So it depends on the thermometer.
Well, Lisa, this is a lot of information, and I don't know that I can keep track of it all in my head. A lot of useless information rolling around that is battling with the useful information. So tell me where I can go find all that useful information you just shared.
Yep. So we are so excited. We have a new website, and that's extension.illinois.edu/food. And that is dedicated to all of our information regarding food safety, food preparation. Everything you want to know about food is on that page. We have recipes on there as well. And also, if you don't, I would suggest following the Family Consumer Science team with the University of Illinois Extension. Has our own Facebook page. It's called University of Illinois Extension Around the Table. Me and my team are actually going to be posting throughout the month, Food Safety Month, on little tips and then tips to our fact sheets and tip sheets. So I know I've got one coming out today that talks a little bit about sanitizing your kitchen sink and knowing how to do it properly. So yeah, but you definitely check out our Facebook page and follow us. So and comment, and we're happy to answer questions that way.
That's Extension Nutrition and Wellness Educator Lisa Peterson. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you.
Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first.